Here's Video Game Sophistry. Your one-stop shop for video games, news, reviews.
Oh my god, he just ran in.
And time-wasting fun.
Hi, I'm Andy Borkowski from Video Game Sophistry, and today we're talking mechs with Russ Bullock, president of Piranha Games. Thank you, Russ, for taking the time to chat.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
Now, what can you tell us about your upcoming game, MechWarrior Online?
Well, it's the next iteration of a classic franchise. It really depends on the age of the gamer, I guess, if they're going to, recognize the name MechWarrior. I think most people do. If they're, 25 or older, they're probably going to really immediately think themselves, wait a minute, I know that brand. It's been a big brand over the years. I mean, it started a while ago. I remember playing the very first ones. I'm 37 years old, and I think the first one came out in 1990. And there was a number of sequels, very big, sales and very big success on the PC platform. And it's based off of originally a pen and paper game called BattleTech. And really, ultimately, it's about giant walking war machines. So you pilot it. It's called a mech. It's like a giant robot, but you're the pilot inside. And it's about these giant mechs battling it out and basically laying waste to each other and everything in sight. So it's definitely a concept that I think that appeals to everybody.
You mentioned it right there. The past of MechWarrior is really rich and varied, and it's really depending on how old you are to really appreciate what iteration of MechWarrior you do remember. In terms of the development and the design, where did you draw a lot of your creative influences?
Well, I think ultimately being fans of the franchise and having played all the past games and watching very closely, especially in the last decade when the pure MechWarrior game had been missing from the market, really for a lot of unforeseen or even say unexplained reasons. There just hadn't been a MechWarrior game in a while, even though they'd all been very big successes. So we were listening to the fans, and the fans' sentiment really echoed our own, which was that, it's time for the next, true MechWarrior experience. And those that have been following the brand for a while really know what I mean. There's been 4 kind of specific MechWarrior games since 1990, MechWarrior 1 through 4, along with some expansion packs. But there was also a couple games called Mech Assault, and they used the same brand, the same universe, but they put them on the Xbox One console, and they were very different games, very fast and arcadey, and just really weren't a MechWarrior experience. So for us, we felt the fans desperately wanted us to make the next true MechWarrior game. So our inspiration really came from MechWarrior 1 through 4, the true action simulator MechWarrior products.
For those who maybe not be as familiar with what a MechWarrior game feels like, when they log in and start playing MechWarrior Online, what kind of experience can they expect? Right off the gate, as soon as they log in, and a few hours in, what kind of game are you delivering?
Well, it's just a little bit of a different pace from what people are used to if they're a big shooter fan. So if you're a big Call of Duty, Halo fan, they're great games, but you might be getting just a little tired of the next shooter syndrome, and MechWarrior is just a perfect answer to that. It's still very intense and very action-filled. The average round in MechWarrior still might only last 8 to 10 minutes because it's very frenetic and there's a heck of a lot going on. So all the action junkies will not be bored in the slightest. But it's been described by many media outlets as a thinking man's shooter. So you can think of it like vehicle combat to a degree. You are in a big giant walking mech. It behaves in a way like a big giant walking tank. So your legs are running across the ground, but you can move your upper body, torso, independently of your legs. So there's just a couple things to get used to there. The pacing as you run along is going to be a little slower than your frenetic shooter. A lot more strategy involved, where you're going to be really thinking about your movements and actions a lot. And it's really, really rewarding experience. You have to manage your weapon systems and even manage the heat level of your battle mech. But when people that like it, really like it a lot, and we find that people, they spend, even your average shooter player we'll spend a couple hours in MechWarrior and really get hooked on the nuances of the MechWarrior experience and
In
what we
terms of
can
the
in the world.
narrative experience, for someone who hasn't played again and not familiar with the narrative, how are you continuing the MechWarrior story and bringing as well some originality?
Well, we kind of opened it up wide.
Hmm.
For us, it's not telling the story of any particular, spoiled prince who's, about to come into his own sort of classic MechWarrior storyline.
Hmm.
For us, it's about you, the player, get to experience the entire world. So we've said, okay, we're going to set the player in a particular date and time in the MechWarrior universe, and the MechWarrior universe, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's immense. I mean, we're talking about 28 years of story canon being written by dozens of different authors for
Hmm.
novels to source books. So there's just so much out there. But what worked really well was that MechWarrior universe uses the same Earth calendar as us. So basically, today is October 23rd, 2012. It's actually October 23rd, 3049 right now in our game. So
Hmm.
every day that goes by in our world, a day goes by in the MechWarrior universe, so we can feed the player bits of news items that happened in the canon of the universe. They can come out through Twitter feeds, through the social websites, through the actual game client. We'll keep the player really immersed in what's happening in the universe at that point. So they'll learn the storylines, they'll learn what's going on, and learn about the setting that they're playing in. But ultimately, then it's up to them to participate. So the
Hmm.
player can get groups together. Um, Eventually, in the game, you're going to be able to join factions. So you might say, well, I'm really a mercenary at heart, so we're gonna create our own mercenary unit, and we're gonna choose to fight for a particular faction inside
Hmm.
the MechWarrior universe. So it's really up for you. It's kind of an open-ended. We're saying here's the entire canon of the MechWarrior universe. Come in and participate, whether through joining one of the main factions or joining your own player-made mercenary unit.
One of the big things we're talking about a mech game, gotta ask, what sort of mechs are we going to be playing inside, and what is the level of customizability?
Well, there's really no limit as to
Hmm.
what mechs you're going to play, and that the limit is based on our capacity to make them. So
Yeah.
we're certainly making them as fast as we can. Now, right now, there's about 10 different mechs in the game, but each one has 3 to 5 variants of it. So that's where that customization comes in, and I'll talk about that in just a second.
Hmm.
But I guess just finishing that first thought, we're introducing a mech right now, a mech along with all of its variants, at least one every month. And we hope to increase that to 2 every month. So every 2 weeks there'll be another mech. And so we're just going to go through all the fan favorites, all the big famous battle mechs from the MechWarrior universe, leading up to, of course, the clan mechs that are on our way. Everyone's got to have their own Mad Cat, right?
Hmm.
And so we're going to we're going to be making all those too. So we hope to be able to add some development capacity soon to that, so we can basically just continue to make battle mechs at whatever pace we can manage. And of course, that'll be determined a little bit by as we get the game into open beta and we see how players consume them. That'll kind of determine at what pace we should be trying to match. But the customization, of course, is another one of those key moments
Hmm.
in MechWarrior. There's a couple ways that you can differentiate yourself and your battle mech on the battlefield. So one, of course, is to choose the particular variant you like. So, for instance, if you're a big Atlas fan, you want to pilot the big 100-ton Atlas.
Hmm.
Well, you can buy the default, the stock one, and any battle mech you choose, you can take into what's called MechLab. And MechLab allows you to pretty much customize the entire battle mech, everything, all your weapons loadout, armor distribution, etc. And so you're only limited by what we call the hard point system. So if you have one particular Atlas variant might have, 2 ballistic hard point, 3 energy hard points, and so you can customize within those hard points. So you might choose a different variant of the Atlas that gives you a different, weapon hard point configuration. So
Hmm.
really when you take in all the mechs into consideration, all the different variants into consideration, and then also be able to take them into MechLab, there's truly just almost an unlimited number of combinations that you can find in the game.
MechWarrior Online has a different sort of playstyle. It's a free-to-play sort of game. And what really appealed to you about that strategy of publication?
Well, I mean, there's a few reasons. First and foremost, the game industry just changed significantly.
Mm-hmm.
For independent game developers, the console space, we spent 12 years doing work for hire console space. We shipped a lot of games, and we know how to work in that space very well. But it's really become an extremely difficult, if not impossible, barrier of entry for your standard independent developer.
Mm-hmm.
Even the large publishers now, I think, are struggling because there's no in order to put a game on the console now, the productions have to be so immense. They have to be Call of Duty, Halo level productions almost to put anything on the console. It becomes extremely difficult. It's unsustainable. I think even for the large publishers, they're realizing that. So when the free-to-play business model really started to catch on, especially in North America, because we know it's been popular in places like Korea and stuff for a while. But as we saw premium games like League of Legends, World of Tanks, starting to have big success in North America, it was a big eye-opener for us and everyone else. We thought, well, this is amazing. This is great because it's a legitimate way not only to get your game to market, but to ease your product into market, as well as take it to a global market. You don't have to worry about piracy anymore. So it's really a wonderful business model, and there's some angst and anxiety with gamers, especially in North America, as they continue to get used to this. But as they realize that you truly can play for free, and the only advantage you get from spending money really is to minimize the amount of time you have to spend in the game. And I think that's the real acceptable trade-off that people are starting to accept and realize. But more than anything, the biggest thing there is just that for a while there was a misconception that anything that was free to play had to be extremely casual, extremely
like a Facebook game sort of thing.
And yes, very, not a very good game for those that are core gamers. And so when we saw these other existing games, League of Legends, et cetera, that are coming with their very high quality AAA productions, that was really when we thought, yeah, we can do this. And so we really feel like MechWarrior Online is really in the top tier of free-to-play games, and from a graphical standpoint and a production quality standpoint, it's right there. It's in the it's in the top category that there is right now when it comes to free-to-play products. So we're very proud of it. We think it's really the perfect business model for revitalizing and bringing MechWarrior back.
Excellent. Really good to hear innovation within the industry. Now back to MechWarrior. Really, who does this game appeal to in your words, and why should players play? What is that big selling point of really why they should log in and spend all that time with MechWarrior Online?
Well, of course, first and foremost, any MechWarrior BattleTech fans out there, and there's a lot of them over this last 25 plus years, this is literally your dream game. I know because it was my dream game. This is a game that doesn't end after 8 hours of single-player campaign and you're wanting more. This is a game you can literally put years into. I mean, this project is going to exist for years and years to come as we just continue to add content and add depth. So this is really your dream product. And for everybody else out there, anyone who's an action gamer, loves high quality, high production value action games, and especially has a fond part in their heart still for console products, for PC games. They spent the last, number of years, playing their console and remember all the great times they had on their PC. The PC still brings a special something to gaming. So any action gamers out there that are getting just a little bit tired of, the next shooter syndrome, we've got a game for you that's going to really feel refreshing. It's going to, revitalize your interest in gaming and start to make you feel like, oh, great, there is something else out there to play. There is something else happening besides, waiting for the next sequel of my favorite shooter. So I think it's gonna keep your mind, more occupied than just the latest shooter game. It's more of a thinking game. So yeah, any action gamers out there, definitely, got to give it a shot.
There we go. Heard it right here. It's for anyone who's tired of the same old thing, revitalizing not only the shooter genre, but will bring you right back to the PC, and it's not going to break the bank. Well, thank you again. Get a chance to play the game. Again, we're talking to Russ Bullock, president of Piranha Games, about the game MechWarrior Online. Thank you so much, Russ. Everyone needs to play it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
I'm Andy Borkowski for Video Game Sophistry.